And as mentioned earlier on, we're going to be using the PyAcademy resources, and here it is the screen with my Chrome opened to the PyAcademy resource installing Raspbian with Noobs. And in this first page, it just tells you what you will need to do, what you will do, and what you will learn, which is more or less what we've been discussing so far. So let's just move on to the Get Started page. And in here, the first thing that obviously we need to do is to go onto the downloading section of the raspberrypi.org site to download just Noobs. So let's move on to the link highlighted here and follow downloads. And Noobs is obviously the first choice on top here. And we're going to be downloading Noobs as a zip file. Of course, you're free to download whichever other option is there available there, but this is probably the easiest to understand and to work with. So let's download it. And it took a really very long time, but they say that patience is a virtue. So I guess I'm a lot more virtuous right now, because it took really a very long time. And that's one of the reasons why most vendors will actually sell you pre-installed Noobs on your SD cards. Also, one thing you will notice if you buy your SD card new is that the smallest size that they will sell you is 8 gigs. And that's not only because it is probably one of the most convenient size to sell, but it is also to do with the fact that the new version of Raspbian, which is Jessie, really eats up a lot more of your SD card, and having anything less than 8 gig, it's really not recommended. So now that we have the installation, we're going to need to try and transfer it onto the SD card. But first of all, we're going to need to prepare the SD card. In other words, format it. And one of the best ways of formatting it is to use a third-party tool, which I'm going to show you about just now. So now we're going to move on to our new tab here and try and look for SD formatter. Which is a tool directly offered by the sdcard.org of the SD Association. And it's available for Windows and Mac. So let's go on and download it. And one of the reasons why you would want to use the SD formatter instead of your standard operating systems tools to do the formatting of the SD card is that this tool really specializes in formatting the SD cards. And in some cases, it will actually do a better job than what the operating system does. So I will strongly recommend to use this tool instead of anything else. Now that it is downloaded, let's go on and install it. So we'll just double click on my zip file and then on the setup here. And as if by magic, the installation starts. We're going to go on to next and accept all the defaults. And here we go. So I went ahead and plugged the SD card into the computer, and here it is. That's the card that I've just plugged in via the SD card reader. And if you notice, then it shows as 67.7 megabyte free of 1 gigabyte. And in fact, the card is 8 gigabytes. So that's one of the reasons why we're going to be using the SD formatter, because it's going to make a very good job as recovering all the space that is currently not visible through this Windows machine. Let's test whether this is really the case and format the card with the traditional format tool of Windows 7. And it doesn't actually even let me choose anything different than 1 gigabyte. So, that proves it. It's better to use a specialized tool like the SD formatter. Clearly, there are other ways around it. There are also other tools to be used, but SD formatter will be a very good choice. So let's get that one started. And it's immediately recognizing that the drive to be formatted is the G drive. In the drop-down list, in fact, it doesn't show anything else. But if you happen to have more than one SD card plugged at the same time, obviously check before to which one you're going to do the formatting to. Leaving the options here as defaults should really be good enough. So let's go ahead and format it. You want to continue? Yes. Yes. So, and if you notice, it says now that total space is 7.3 gigabytes instead of the 1 gigabyte that was showing earlier on. And also the operating system shows as that the card is actually 7.3 gigabytes in size available now. So now that we have the card formatted, the other thing we need to do is to get Noobs onto the card. Okay, so we now have Noobs, we downloaded it, we downloaded the right one, and we now need to write it onto the SD card. And not just write it onto the SD card really, you just need to drag and drop the files that are in the zip file onto the SD card. So let's get the download section in which we find Noobs. Let's open up another window with the SD card. Select all the contents here and drag and drop them onto the SD card. For a quick start, it has been quite a long journey so far, but we finally made it. We have moved all the files for Noobs into the SD card. We can now eject the media, take the SD card and put it back into the Raspberry Pi so that we can start the installation of Raspbian for your board. First of all though, let's move it back onto the table so that we can plug all the cables back into the Raspberry Pi and power it up.